Good afternoon from the flight deck. I'm glad you're joining me today for yet another Atlantic flight. Today we are going from Gran Canaria, Las Palmas to be specific, and back up north to Reykjavik. If you've seen my last video, then this is going to be a little bit different, both procedure-wise and format-wise, but more about that when we get into it. So while we wait for the plane to be loaded up and wait for our load sheet, then let's get into the briefing and talk about what is going to happen today. Welcome aboard. We are parked at the gate here in Las Palmas, getting ready to depart on the second leg of our journey. Yes, you heard right, second leg. This is a part of a 2-day event on Vatsim called It Takes Two to Tango. This event consists of 2 legs, the first one taking place here in the southern Atlantic, starting in Brazil, down here, then across and up the coast of Africa, and then to either Gran Canaria here, Las Palmas, or Lisbon here up in Portugal. Rio de Janeiro to Las Palmas yesterday, that was a little over 8 hours, so a nice little flight there, but I will unfortunately not be able to share that one with you because of some technical difficulties with my new setup, but I will be able to take you along on the next one here, which, as I said, is taking place here a little further up north. We bring up the route here. As I said, we are starting in Las Palmas and we are ending in Iceland here in Reykjavik. This is actually first time for me flying either north to south or south to north. I've often flown east to west or west to east, but this is a first timer and there was no available briefing, so I'm very much looking forward to see how this one goes. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, then I strongly recommend that you take a look at my previous video where I talk a lot about the basics, about oceanic procedures, why and what you actually are going to do. Link should be up here. Let's look at some flight planning before we head into the cockpit. Let's start by looking at the paperwork. I was under the impression that there would be a pilot briefing available, but I did not receive one, and I always like to come prepared, so I almost blew off the flight because of that. But then I thought, hey, with a basic understanding of how Oceanic works, then what could go wrong? So I went ahead and filed the flight plan anyways. The only paperwork that I have received prior to this flight is the preferred routing, which you can see here. And that sure looks like random routing. On a map, the route looks just like this. If we bring up the boundaries here of the different flight information regions, then we can see here that we will be asking the clearance with the Santa Maria, and then we will cross Oceanic, and then at last the Reykjavik up here. As I talked about in my last video, SimBrief does a lot of the work for you, but when you're not flying in the northern Atlantic, then there is no Atlantic part of the paperwork here that does simply not exist. So let's look at it here. We will be requesting flight level 340 out of Las Palmas, and by this waypoint here we'll be requesting flight level 360. So I bet we'll just ask flight level 360 with our clearance, and then we'll just take a look at the speeds down here. Mach 80. I bet we'll go a little faster today. Let me just show you what I do to keep things organized. I use this very handy checklist here, the Transatlantic Radio Operations Checksheet. I'll put a link to the description below, as I am not the author of this checklist here. What I normally do is that I plot in what I know already. Let me just show you what that looks like, and feel free to laugh of my terrible handwriting. This is what it looks like. This is the call sign. We'll be flying Ice Air 213 today from Las Palmas to Keflavik. And let's just take the steps one by one. Net track. We are not going to be using a net track today, as it's a random routing. Our first waypoint is Navix. Then we have these different waypoints here consisting of coordinates that corresponds to the waypoints that I showed you earlier, or the waypoints here. I simply just plot them in one by one. Then our requested flight level, which I've decided will be 360, and we are able for 390 today. I have found that in the FMC. I'll show you more about that later. And we'll be requesting Mach 84. Here I've just written down Keflavik, just to have it written down when I am going to ask the clearance. And we are expecting Navix at time 1314 Zulu. The TMI, it's the 17th day of the year. We are not going to use that, but I've just written it down here just to be 100% certain. And the cell call, Lima Mike Kilo Quebec, which we are definitely going to use. So that's at least how I keep things organized. We have now got a pretty good idea about what to do. So, briefing complete. Let us head into the cockpit and get the preparations done and ask our departure clearance. Welcome into the cockpit of this Boeing 757. Today we are flying the 200 option, equipped with the nice Rolls-Royce engines. This is of course the 757 by Flight Factor. I've begun the cockpit preparations, and I think that the loading of our plane is almost done. We are bringing 164 passengers today back up to Iceland. Just on a side note, the scenery that we are looking at here is actually freeware scenery available on the Org forum. If you are planning to visit Las Palmas, then definitely check this scenery out. It has very nice ortho scenery actually around the whole island, so it is usable for VFR as well, and it actually looks pretty nice. I'll just complete the setup of the cockpit here, and in a few moments we will listen to the current ATIS and get our departure clearance. When we have got our clearance, I'll turn up some music and let you enjoy the views of Las Palmas as we taxi out, and when we reach the runway I will check back with you for the takeoff. If you've watched my last Oceanic video, then this one is going to be a little bit different. After takeoff, we'll, like last time, turn up some music and let you enjoy the nice views, because this is after all a 5-hour flight, and I don't think it would be very funny for you guys to listen to me blow into the mic and sip coffee for 5 hours. But I'll of course this time be checking in every time something happens, like when we are doing a revised estimate or doing a position report, or of course the most important of all, when we are asking our Oceanic clearance, then I'll be checking back in. When we reach Reykjavik, then I will do an approach briefing, and hopefully we'll have a smooth landing into Keflavik. If you enjoy the content, and I really hope you do, and you like watching these Oceanic flights, then consider leaving me a thumbs up, because this is a really time-consuming process. But no more chit-chatting, we better get going, because our calculated takeoff time is 1200 Zulu. We got some stuff to do. Once again, welcome aboard.
This is Gran Canaria, it is Information Victor. At time 1130, expect ILS approach runway 0 left in use. Transition level 070. Wind 060 degrees 11 knots. Visibility more than 10 kilometers, scattered 3500 feet. Temperature 19. 2.12 QNH 1027. No significant change. These was Gran Canaria Information Victor.
Gran Canaria approach, good day. ICER 213, Boeing 752, stand Tango 05, requesting clearance to Keflavik, and we have Alpha on board.
Europa 2603, good evening. You're clear to your destination, Keflavik, via Bimbo 7 Alpha departure for runway 03 left. Initial climb flight level 150, squawk 1444.
Cleared to Keflavik via the Bimbo 7 Alpha departure. Initial climb is flight level 150, squawk 1465, ICER 213.
ICER 213, read back correct, QNH 1027.
QNH 1027, ICER 213. Gran Canaria Tower, hello again, ICER 213, approaching holding point 03 left.
ICER 213, hello again, line up and wait runway 03 left.
Line up and wait runway 03 left, ICER 213.
SMS 182, contact approach 124.3, have a flight delay.
124.3, channel 22, have a nice day.
wind 060 degrees, 11 knots, runway 03 left, clear for takeoff.
Runway 03 left, cleared for takeoff, ISA 213. We are about 11 minutes into the flight, and it's about time to do a rough estimate of when we'll be entering Oceanic airspace. It is strictly the pilot's responsibility to obtain the Oceanic clearance 30 minutes prior to entering Oceanic airspace, so it's always a good idea to be ahead to know roughly when you will be reaching your Oceanic entry point. You can get this information by clicking on the Legs button on the FMS and then on the line select key RTE data, the lower one on the right side. And here we can see that our estimate time of arrival at Navigraph is 1310 Zulu. This is at least the way to do it here in the 757, but I believe that this way applies to other Boeings as well. Normally in the 757 here by flight factor, the time is not 100% accurate. Sometimes it is and sometimes it is not. That is why I don't take this time to be exact. There are of course also other ways to get this information. A good source, if you're using Active Sky XP, you can look at the briefing page there and get another estimate, and that is normally a little bit more accurate. You can of course also do the calculations. I don't have an exact formula, but of course if you know your ground speed you can always calculate it that way, but I don't usually do that. At least now I know that by 12:40 Zulu I need to have an oceanic clearance to enter the oceanic airspace. We can also see here that the plane is estimating a speed of Mach 838 by Navix. Since we have plenty of gas today, then I think we will try to ask Mach 84, just to kind of shorten the trip a little, but 84 will really be pushing it to the limits, but I think we'll go with 84 today. So we've got a little bit of cruising to do before reaching Navix. I'll check back in with you when we are transferred to Santa Maria and when we are going to ask our clearance. We are well on our way and we are rapidly approaching Navix. It is now 13:03 Zulu. I have been in touch with Lisboa and we were told to stand by because Santa Maria was not online yet. They have just popped up. My guess is that we'll be transferred to Santa Maria Radio for oceanic clearance any moment now. But before we contact Santa Maria Radio, if you enjoy the content, let me know. Hit the thumbs up button. If you've got some creative idea perhaps, then let me know in the comments section. If you want to be a part of the growth of my tiny channel here, then hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more long haul flight sim content. I'd like at last here to take the opportunity to say thank you for watching. I'm glad to have you on board today.
ISAT 213 Lisboa.
ISAT 213 Lisboa, go ahead.
Okay, seems to be sorted now. ISAT 213 Santa Maria on 127.9 for oceanic clearance.
Santa Maria and 127.9 for the clearance. Sorry about that. ISAT 213.
No worries.
Santa Maria, good day. ISAT 213, request oceanic clearance.
Santa Maria, low, go ahead.
ISAT 213, request oceanic clearance to Keflavik via Navix 45 November 0 North 017 West, then 50 North 018 West, 55 North 019 West, 60 North 020 West. Request flight level 360, able flight level 390, Mach 84. Expecting Navix at time 1315 Zulu, Selcol Lima Mike Kilo Quebec.
From there to 113, bye. From there to 113, Santa Maria, ready to copy.
ISAT 213, ready to copy.
Santa Maria clears Atlander 213 to Keflavik via Navix 45 North 17 West, then as filed. From Navix, maintain flight level 360,
Mach decimal 84.
Cleared to Keflavik via Navix, then 45 north, 017 west, then as filed from Navix, climb and maintain flight level 360, Mach decimal 84, ISA 213.
Alert 13, feedback correct. Primary Jeff 132070, secondary 124850, cell call check and
And ISA 213, cell call check OK. Could you please confirm the frequency for ISA 213?
Alert 13, primary Jeff will be 132070. Now return to domestic.
Primary frequency 132.070 and we'll return to domestic. ISA 213. Thank you. Bye bye.
Europa 260.
And Lisboa Control, ISA 213 is back with you. We got our Oceanic clearance from Navix, flight level 360.
ISA 213, Roger, do you want to find now?
Affirm, ISA 213.
ISA 213, climb to flight level 360.
Climb to flight level 360, ISA 213. That worked out pretty well. We've now successfully obtained our Oceanic clearance. Luckily the frequency was not too congested today. That's also a factor you've got to take into consideration when flying these events. Since the controller just recently popped online, then we are pretty close to our Oceanic entry point. We'll then be transferred to Santa Maria radar frequency actually, which means that we will be under radar coverage on the first part of our Oceanic crossing. However, later on this flight we will be doing position reports because ADS-B is not simulated today. Look at my last video, the Oceanic Basics, if you want to hear more about ADS-B. After we have been transferred to Santa Maria radar, then I'll take a well-earned coffee break and then I'll be back with you when we reach Oceanic and when we are going to do our first position report.
ISA 213, contact Santa Maria radar on 132.150, goodbye.
Santa Maria on 132.150, ISA 213, bye bye. ISA 213 Santa Maria, go ahead.
ISA 213, report position 45 north, 17 west on Oceanic, 1318.
Report position 45 north, 017 west to Oceanic on 131.8. ISA 213, bye bye. Oceanic radio, good day, ISA 213 with position report.
ISA Air 1
148 pass service.
Request new clearance.
Iceland 148 pass service.
013 request Oceanic clearance, entry point Sunot, expecting at 1452, request without 370 and Mach 0.78.
Could you confirm the previous transmission was for ICER 213?
Yes, correction. It was for ICER 1213 148. I need you to stand by. 213 pass service.
ICER 213 reporting 45 North 017 West at time 1433 Zulu, flight level 360, Mach decimal 84, inbound 50 North 018 West, estimating at time 1508 Zulu, 55 North 019 West thereafter.
ICER 13, okay. ICER 13 general coverage passing 45 North 017 West at time 1435 Zulu. Next point 50 North 018 West at 1508 Zulu and 55 North 019 West thereafter. Level 340 Mach decimal 8.
We are currently at flight level 360, but else read back correct, ICER 213.
Aircraft 213 correction, level 360 copies.
Read back correct, ICER 213.
ICER 148 pass service.
When flying Oceanic, it's a good idea to look at the time once in a while. If we look at the ND in the top right corner, we can see that our estimate has changed a little bit. We originally expected waypoint 50 North 018 West at time 1508 Zulu, and now it looks like we are estimating that waypoint at 1512 Zulu. That makes a difference of 4 minutes. When the difference is 3 minutes or more, you have to let ATC know and do a so-called revised estimate. And that is what we are going to do now, so let's give Shanwick a call. And Shanwick radio ICER 213 with revised estimate. Shanwick radio ICER 213 with revised estimate. It looks like Shanwick is not responding at the moment. I'll just try it again in about 5 minutes, and if we get no response by then I'll talk to you again when we reach our next waypoint. Here we are at our next waypoint. Actually, we passed our next waypoint, but it's been awfully busy on the frequency, so the position report is a little bit late. But hey, better late than never, right? Shanwick radio ICER 213 with position report.
ICER 213 pass service.
ICER 213 reporting 50 North 018 West at time 1513 Zulu, flight level 360, Mach decimal 84, inbound 55 North 019 West, estimating at time 1551 Zulu, and 61 North 020 West thereafter.
ICER 213, Gander copies passing 50 North 18 West at 1518 Zulu, Mach decimal 84, level 360, next waypoint 55 North 19 West at time 55, version at time 1551 Zulu. and 61 north 20 west thereafter.
Read back correct, ICE 213. And Shanwick Radio, ICE 213 with position report.
ICE Air 213, Pacific.
ICE 213 reporting 55 north, 019 west at time 1554 Zulu, flight level 360, Mach decimal 84, inbound 60 north, 020 west, estimating time 1629 Zulu, and Reykjavik after that.
ICE Air 213, gather copies passing 55 north, 19 west and 51550 Zulu. Next waypoint 60 north, 20 west at time 1629 Zulu and Reykjavik thereafter.
And ICE 213, read back correct. We are already running a little bit late, so let's just let ATC know and do a revised estimate. Shanwick Radio, ICE 213 with a revised estimate.
ICE 213, passing message.
ICE 213 estimating 60 north, 020 west at time 1632 Zulu.
ICE 213, gather copies. Will expected time at 61 north, 20 west and 1632 Zulu.
ICE 213, read back correct. The next frequency is Iceland Radio. He is currently not online, neither is Reykjavik control, which means that there's not much more to do before we reach Reykjavik and we are going to do the approach. Enjoy the nice sunset as we do the last bit of cruising, and then I'll be back with you for an approach briefing before we reach Keflavik. We are nearing Keflavik now, and I have initiated our descent. Since we are still on Unicom, I've started our descent down to flight level 150, which is a little bit above the first restriction on the star that I presume that we are going to fly. I've programmed the FMC for the Baslu 2 hotel arrival. In the latest 80s we got the information that the active runway is runway 28, which makes Baslu 2 hotel a very likely star to get. Let's go over the approach before we get a contact me from the approach controller in Keflavik. I use Navigraph to provide the ERAC and the charts, and in my opinion it's one of the most useful apps for flight simulations. Just to double check, if we select the approach, which is the ILS Zulu for runway 28, and then we can look at the arrivals. Navigraph also suggests the Baslu 2 hotel arrival for the ILS runway 28. If we look at the approach here, it looks like it's fairly straightforward. We'll start here at Baslu, which is our last waypoint, and then we will just adhere to the restrictions, flight level 120 and below, and so forth, and then we end up at Olges. At Olges here we'll need to be between 5,000 feet and 3,500 feet. If we look at the approach chart here, it's a very simple approach. Olges waypoint here is also the initial approach fix, so it's likely that we'll just be cleared for the approach via Olges, and then we'll just fly straight ahead and intercept the localizer, and then of course intercept the glide slope. We'll need to be at the Kilo Foxtrot India 28 waypoint. We'll need to be at 2,500 feet. Then we'll descend down to 1,800 feet by Ardal to intercept the glide slope, and from there it's just the standard 3 degrees glide slope. The missed approach procedure is probably also one of the easiest possible. It's simply just straight ahead on runway heading and a climb to 3,000 feet, and then we can expect vectoring by the approach. That hardly gets any easier. According to the ATIS, we also have what looks like a straight headwind, so that is also not going to be any concern. This can turn out to be a pretty exciting approach because we actually have some cumulonimbus clouds at 1,400 feet, which is basically thunderclouds, so that can get a bit exciting. Before we head back into the cockpit, let's just look at the airport layout. I always like to have a general idea of what the airport looks like, to have an idea about where to vacate and where you can expect to go afterwards. Often there are other aircraft on approach and you really don't want to be that guy that does not know where to go and cause a go around for another pilot. We'll be coming in here on runway 28 of course, and I plan to be vacating here via Bravo 1. A very possible routing would be here via Kilo 3, then Charlie 3, and then to somewhere up here on the international terminal. So now we've got a general idea of what the approach looks like, so let's head back into the cockpit. Keflavik approach, good evening, ISR 213 with you, descending through flight level 250, inbound Baslu.
ISR 213, Keflavik approach, good afternoon, set score 1465.
Squawk 1465 coming up, ISR 213.
ISR 213, ISR 213, lost radar contact there, but you're now back identified. It is the Baslu 2 hotel arrival, runway 28, continue descent to flight level 100. ISR 213, continue descent altitude 5,000 feet, QNH 1001.
Continue descent to 5,000 feet on QNH 1001, ISR 213.
213, continue descent altitude 3,000 feet via Olged, cleared ILS in approach 28, report established.
Down to 3,000 feet via Olges, cleared ILS, approach runway 28 and will report established. ISA 213.
Air Canada 68, you're climbing, please descend altitude 5,000 feet.
And down to 3,000 feet. That was just the approach that I've expected.
Air Canada 68, reduce speed to 20 knots or less. ISA 521, continue descent altitude 3,000 feet via Dover, cleared ILS in approach 28, report established.
Going through the clouds. That strobe effect in the cockpit is a bit over-exaggerated if you ask me. But of course a nice detail. Approach mode.
Air Canada 68, your frequency.
Before we land, I just want to thank you for sticking with me so far. If you've enjoyed the video, then be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future content. I hope you will stay with me during the landing and during the taxi to the gate. When we're parked at the gate, I'll tell you where we are off to next. I am already in the planning phase for the next flight.
ISA 521, roger, continue approach, break, ISA 213, contact the tower now 1183, bye bye.
Tower 118.3, ISA 213, bye bye. And Keflavik Tower, good evening, ISA 213, established on the ILS runway 28, we are 5 miles final.
ISA 213, Keflavik Tower, hello, continue approach, winds 280 degrees 16 knots.
ISA 213.
Keflavik Tower, good day, ISA 521, ILS 28. 1 Keflavik Tower, continue approach, frequency, correction, wind 280 degrees 16 knots. Continue approach, wind is copied, ISA 521. Sierra Papa Zulu Yankee Golf, expedite your vacating.
Sierra Papa Zulu Yankee Golf, vacating via...
So we've got another ice air just behind us, so this gonna be smooth.
ISA 213, winds 280 degrees 16 knots, runway 28, clear to land.
Runway 28, cleared to land, ISR 213. Disconnect the autopilot.
Echo November, runway 219er and full short of runway 28.
Disconnect the auto throttle.
And Scandinavian 596, are you ready for departure? Affirm 596. Scandinavian 596, behind the landing traffic, line up and wait runway 28, behind. Behind the landing traffic, line up and wait 28, Scandinavian 596, behind of course.
This is, Keflavik 2, hello, this is Scandinavian 5580 Heavy, ready to check.
Scandinavian 5580, Keflavik Tower, VG5.
Okay, now, so where is Bravo?
And ISR 213, expedite your vacating.
Roger, ISR 213. Okay, there's both an aircraft taking off and one on a pretty short final, so we gotta race off the runway. Steep turn there. Runway vacated, ISR 213.
213, thanks. Break, Scandinavian 56, winds 290 degrees 17 knots, runway 28, cleared immediate takeoff. And ISR 521, expect late landing clearance. Late landing 521. ISR 213, taxi Kilo Charlie November, stand 5.
Taxi via Kilo Charlie November for stand 5, ISR 213.
This is Scandinavian 5580 Heavy, requesting IFR clearance to Oceanic, and can I, yeah.
Scandinavian 5580, stand by, break, ISR 521, winds 290 degrees 17 knots, runway 28, clear to land. Clear to land 28, wind is copied 521.
Okay, that was an exciting one, but it sounded like our fellow ISR pilot, he made it without a go-around. So I'm very pleased with that. Just had a bit longer rollout than I hoped for, but for some reason Bravo 1 was not really visible on this scenery. I must admit it's the first time flying into Keflavik using this scenery, so I don't know, there's some fault, or maybe I just missed it, I don't know, but luckily it all worked out. I am actually okay satisfied with that landing. There's of course always room to improve, but I think it worked out okay. It was not quite a butter, it was to the firmer side, it was a little bit above negative 200 feet per minute, but for me the goal is more to be 50 feet above the threshold and be aligned with the center line. For me that is more important than making a butter landing. That should be stand 5. Off with the taxi lights. And we finally made it to the gate in Keflavik. Let's get this plane unloaded. This has just been a crazy weekend. 2 flights across the Atlantic. First from Brazil to Gran Canaria, that was 8 hours, and now today from Las Palmas, Gran Canaria of course, and to Keflavik. That has been insane. But of course, a really funny experience and a really great event in my opinion. All that's left to do now is to sign off with the controller, and afterwards I will tell you where we are going next time. Alaisa 213 is on the blocks. Thank you for service and have a great evening.
Thank you for flying in. Break, Air Canada, Air Canada.
Once again, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy the content, then stay tuned, because next week I will be at it again already. Next week we are going to explore the southern Atlantic. We are going from Paris to Martinique. At last, I want to apologize for all the background noise that have been throughout this video, but because of this global pandemic, we have all been crammed into the house, so I'm sure you all know how the rest of the story goes. But I hope that this video was somewhat still enjoyable, and I really hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.